and welcome to Safe Haven Book Club. My name is Robin, and I'm so glad to have you here with us today. Our first book club meeting is going to be about the book Heidi by Johanna Spyri. And before this, I did not know anything about Heidi. I knew it was a famous classic children's book, but I had never read it or didn't know anything about it. I had actually bought this book from an online used bookstore, and I had gotten it for my little niece, and it was just for our home library. And I had put it on the shelf, and I didn't think about it again until I decided I was going to start this channel. And me and my niece, I let her pick some books, and I picked some books. We numbered them 1 through 10, and we drew a number. It was number 10, and that ended up being Heidi. So I had no idea what it was about or what was going to go on. But I am so glad that I had the opportunity to read this book. And as I was flipping through, I did not realize how old and beautiful this specific edition was. And it's probably just the book nerd in me. But as I was flipping through, I noticed that this was a used book from Highland Terrace Library in Seattle, Washington. And it still had the little stamp due dates from the library dating back to 1993. And if you're a 90s baby and you remember how important those AR points were, it was just so fun to see that. And then as I was flipping through, I realized that it had the most beautiful illustrations, and I just fell in love with this book. I did not know that this was the 1945 edition, and I actually had to be careful as I was flipping through the pages because they were so old and brittle that I had to be very kind and respectful to the book as I was reading and flipping through there. And I'm so glad that I did. I'm so glad that I read this book not knowing anything, because it just happened to work out that this was a book that I needed for my soul during this season, and it ended up working out great. So I hope that you can read along and that we can talk about Heidi and all the beautiful things that are in this book. So let's get started. Starting off, this book is put into 2 parts, part 1 and part 2. And this video is going to be about part 1, which is chapters 1 through 14. And so, yeah, let's get started. Part 1, Heidi's years of learning and travel. And I'm just going to start off with the first chapter, and it is chapter 1, and it is called The Uncle. And this was very interesting to me because I am an aunt and I have a niece. And starting off, the story starts off with Heidi's aunt taking her, and she is going to take her somewhere. And as we read, we understand she's taking her to her grandfather. You can tell in the way that this is written that the niece, Heidi, she's almost a chore. It's kind of irritating and aggravating to her aunt that she has to do this. And that was kind of really startling to me because I would not look at my niece like that. And so, she hasn't seen this. I don't think that the grandfather has ever seen Heidi, and the aunt hasn't seen him in a number of years, but she is just going to go and drop the child off with him because she has a future employment opportunity and she doesn't want to be weighed down. This is something that, she wants to be free. And so all of the townspeople are like, what, you're going up there? Because the grandfather is kind of a grumpy hermit, and he doesn't like to be bothered. He wants to be left alone. And it surprised everyone that that's who she's leaving a small child with. So as I was reading this, my heart kind of got a little faster and faster, because I was like, what is going on here? What are you talking about? You're leaving her with an old man? What is going on here? But I just thought that was very, very interesting. The aunt's name was Deet. I'm probably going to mispronounce a lot of these words, so please be kind and have patience with me, because I'll just do my best. So the aunt had been offered a job in Frankfurt, and the grandfather was a grumpy hermit type. And one odd thing that stood out to me was making the child wear multiple layers of clothing as they were walking up to the grandfather's, because I guess she didn't want to pack a bag, or she didn't want to have to carry luggage. So she just made the child wear all of the clothes, and it was like a hot summer day. And that was kind of odd to me, but I know that back in those days, that's, how they traveled sometimes, was put as much on so you don't have as much to carry. And yeah, the aunt was very impatient and dismissive, and I did not like her. So I was hoping that, hey, maybe the grandfather is nicer than whatever this aunt is, Moving on to chapter 2. So she ends up dropping her off and leaving her there. And so now it's just Heidi and the grandfather. It didn't take long for me to read going into chapter 2 and understanding that the grandfather was actually kind and caring. Not that he was overly, lovey-dovey or whatever like that. He was kind of cold, but in a caring way. And he immediately looked after her. He got the little girl something to drink. And they have this little hut cottage thing. And the little girl, went and looked at everything. And he let her have the loft. And she went up there and she saw that. I just loved how excited she was over every little thing, and it really kind of seemed like she was just starved for attention, and that was very heart-touching to me. And Heidi was so excited that she had this bed made of hay, and even after she was asleep, the grandfather would step up on the ladder and just check and make sure that she was there and okay. And that was just so heartwarming, and it was like, even if it was just the two of them, they were this small, happy family. And I just loved that. Chapter 3, In the Pasture. Okay, when it described how she was so happy the first night that she stayed with her grandfather. She was even smiling in her sleep. And the descriptive writing and the caring character of the grandfather, it really reminded me of a couple of comfort reads that I have, Little House on the Prairie and Anne of Green Gables. This immediately made me feel like I was in that one of those literary worlds of love and comfort and old-fashioned living. Today we would call it cottagecore or whatever, but it really gave off that kind of vibe. So if you like those books, you would really, really love this book. And I was actually kind of apprehensive about reading this book because I was afraid that it might be stiff and boring, but the love and the care of the writing, it makes the reader feel comforted as they go throughout the story. And it was just a lovely feeling at the end of a long and stressful day. This was comforting to me to read and very calming. And I realized, this was just what I needed, was reading this book. The grandfather was so good with her and loving and caring, and he just let her be free and be a kid. And he loved her just as she was. I don't think he got onto her the whole time. And it really made me, all of my grandparents have passed now, so it made me miss that feeling of having an older person that is a source of love and comfort and guidance in that way. Okay, moving on to chapter 4, and also I want to apologize if it sounds like I have a cold. I am getting over a cold, so I'm sorry if my voice is kind of scratchy. Yes, chapter 4, at the grandmother's. In the autumn, the wind blew so hard that the grandfather wouldn't let Heidi go with Peter and the goats. And I thought that was very sweet. And I would imagine that the winds, up in the Swiss Alps and the mountains up there, I would imagine that the wind would blow very hard. And I just thought it was really sweet and caring of the grandfather to watch out for her. Like, if the weather is a certain way, don't go out there. And so she's able to meet Peter. He takes care of the goats, and she goes up and hangs out with him. And I think he was thankful to have a little buddy with him. And she was able to meet his mother and his grandmother. And she really had a soft spot in her heart for the grandmother. And when she realized that the grandmother was blind and that she couldn't see and that there was no way to fix that, she just started sobbing. And that scene, reading about that scene, it was that pulled at my heartstrings, because as a reader, you really felt that feeling of, there's no way to fix this. And there wasn't. So, my heart, that hurt my heart reading that. And once she realized that the grandmother and Peter's mother, there was a lot of things wrong with their little hut or cottage, and that the grandmother couldn't see and the mother didn't know how to fix things. Peter was a young boy. He didn't know. No one had ever taught him. Heidi kind of took it upon herself to get her grandfather to come and help these people. And he has been so used to being antisocial and a hermit, but she was able to, tell him, these people need our help, and they need you to fix certain things on this house. And he ended up going and doing that, and I just thought that was the sweetest thing. Moving on to chapter 5, 2 visits and their results. Okay, so this is a chapter that I disliked the most. The aunt came and took Heidi away, and I hated it. I knew when the aunt showed up that there was something more behind her showing up than just what was best for Heidi, because that has not been, she wasn't caring about what was best for her when she dropped her off. She was caring about her own life and how she didn't want to be bothered. So now that she showed back up again, I immediately thought, what do you want? And she wanted Heidi. She had found an opportunity where a little, rich girl that was in a wheelchair needed a playmate and a helper, if you will. And this would be good for her socially to be able to provide a child and, have the credit of doing that. And so Heidi is so happy where she is with her grandfather. It was really heartbreaking to see the aunt, get into an argument with the grandfather, grab Heidi's hand, and eventually she keeps fighting with him, and he's like, just take her. Takes Heidi, drags her down, and she keeps saying, well, where are we going? And the aunt kind of very vaguely, we're going to visit someone, and da-da-da-da-da. And that part was really hard to read because I could just see, and nobody wanted Heidi to go, and Heidi didn't want to go, and she kept saying, well, if you don't want to stay here, you can always come back home. And so Heidi was thinking this is just, a short trip, like a trip to town. This was not a short trip. This was a couple of days away kind of thing of travel through a wagon and a train to get to where she was taking her. And I just did not like that. And as we move on to chapter 6, it is called A New Chapter, an entirely new scene. She just drops Heidi off at this place and leaves her. She talks to the woman that is running the house, the matron of the house, if you will. She runs it while the master is away. And she's like, I found a little girl. Here she is. I got to go to work. She's moving on to the next thing. And just friggin' leaves Heidi there. And Heidi is this little thing, and she's just standing there like, I don't know what to do. And it made me officially, I cannot stand the ant. Moving on to chapter 7. Fräulein Rottenmeier has an uncomfortable day. And Rottenmeier is the name of the woman that runs the house. And as I was reading this, and I realized that the aunt was leaving Heidi, and Heidi was not going to be able to immediately go back home. I was so exasperated for her and really felt her pain, because all she wanted to do was just be with her grandfather. And now she's been left at a stranger's house to keep their child company. And not only that, the employees were unkind to her. They were not nice to her. There was always some kind of dig or comment or dirty look, or, it just was very oppressive. And I just could not stand the way that they spoke to and treated Heidi. That really made my eye twitch. I don't know if you have ever seen the movie The Little Princess, but there's a woman who runs the girls' school, and she ends up being horrible. That was who I pictured in my mind whenever I was reading about Rottenmeier. Rottenmeier's much more older than her, but that type of oppressive vibe, that reminded me of her. Chapter 8, Disturbances in the Sesame House. It just was really sad and heartbreaking to read how unkind the servants were to Heidi and how much she missed her home. She was always doing something wrong, and not even something wrong, but like one time she brought 2 kittens home. She did end up bringing a basket. Okay, I can understand, but I'm just saying, it was little things that they would get onto her about all of the time, and she just missed her home so much. And chapter 9, the master of the house hears strange things. So immediately, whenever the master is able to come home, Rottenmeier starts bad-mouthing Heidi. She doesn't like her. She doesn't want her there. She does like that she entertains the little girl in the wheelchair. Her name is Clara, I believe. And Rottenmeier doesn't have to deal with her while Heidi's around, but she doesn't like Heidi, and she doesn't really want to have to deal with Heidi. She wants a better child. She wants an educated child. Heidi hasn't ever been to school. She doesn't know how to read. And that was one thing that, they looked down on her about after. But the master of the house was actually, I think he was a good and kind man. He was an upstanding man. He just wasn't home a lot. He was away doing business. And, that's why they had that nice house. Chapter 10, A Grandmama. I loved this chapter. The grandmother came and visited. It's the master of the house mother. And I loved her. I loved her because she didn't like Rottenmeier, and I don't like Rottenmeier either. But I loved her, and it was so lovely to see how, she included Heidi in things. She was warm and welcoming to her. She was the opposite of what Rottenmeier has been this whole time. And once she realized that they were unable to teach Heidi to read this whole time that they've had her, this whole time is a span of, days, weeks, months, and the child still cannot read. Well, she opens a book. One of the things that really stood out in my head, she realized that Heidi couldn't read, and she went and got a book for her. And whenever Heidi opened it and saw that there was a shepherd and that there was mountains and pastures, she just started squalling. Oh my goodness, she cried because she missed her home so much. And the grandmama saw how much she loved that book and that picture, and she said, if you will learn to read, you can have this book. So I think that was the one good thing that came out of Heidi being there, was she was able to learn so many things. Okay, so she was able to learn to read after that. She had encouragement and she had something to work towards, and she got that. And once she learned to read, she read that book all of the time to the little girl in the wheelchair. And it was just the sweetest thing. Okay, so chapter 11, Heidi improves in some respects and in others grows worse. And there was one thing the grandmama said to Heidi that I don't know why, but this made me want to cry so hard whenever I read it. I'm just going to read the excerpt to you. And she notices that Heidi is upset and sad, but she can't figure out the reason why. And she says, "Now come, my child, and tell me why you are not happy. Have you still the same trouble in your heart?" "Yes," said Heidi, nodding. "Have you told the dear Lord about it?" "Yes." "And do you pray every day that all may be well and that He will make you happy?" "Oh no, I don't pray any more now." What do you tell me, Heidi? What do I hear? Why don't you pray any longer?" "It's of no use. The dear Lord did not listen. And I really believe," continued Heidi, somewhat excited, "when so many people in Frankfurt are praying together at night, the dear Lord cannot pay attention to them all, and so He has certainly not heard me." "Why, how do you know that is so, Heidi?" "I prayed the same prayer every day for many long weeks, and the dear Lord never answered me." "That is not so, Heidi. You mustn't have such an idea. You see, the Lord is a good Father to us all. He always knows what is good for us, if we do not know it. But if we want something from Him that is not good for us, He does not give it to us, but something much better if we continue to pray to Him sincerely and do not run away and lose all confidence in Him. You see, what you wished to ask of Him was not good for you just now. The dear Lord heard you. He can hear and see everyone at the same time, because He is God and not a human being like you and me. Because He knew what was good for you, He thought to Himself, 'Yes, Heidi shall have what she asks for, but not until it is good for her, and when she will be quite happy about it. For if I should do now what she wants, and she finds afterwards that it would have been better if I had not done what she wished, she'll cry and say, if only the dear Lord hadn't given me what I asked for. It is not so good as I thought it would be.' And while the dear Lord was looking down to see whether you really trusted Him and came to Him every day and prayed when you needed anything, you've run away and you've no longer prayed and you've quite forgotten Him. But you see, when one does so, the dear Lord no longer hears His voice in prayer. He forgets Him too and lets Him go where He will. But when one is in trouble and complains, 'There's no one to help me,' we feel no pity for him and say, 'You yourself ran away from the dear Lord who could have helped you.' Do you want it to be so, Heidi? Or will you go right away to the dear Lord and ask His forgiveness for having turned away from Him, and then pray every day and trust Him so that everything will be made right for you and you may have a happy heart again?" And Heidi listened very attentively. Every word of the grandmama's had gone to her heart, for the child had perfect confidence in her. Okay, the reason that this really hit my heart is because there has been times, especially this year, where I've prayed for something or things in my life to happen, or things I'd like, and they haven't happened, and they haven't happened over a span of years. Repeatedly, it hasn't happened. And there's been times this year where I've gotten very discouraged, and I thought, maybe the Lord just has forgotten about me. Maybe He doesn't hear my prayers anymore. Maybe He's helping other people, more important people. I don't know. But I don't feel like He's hearing me or listening to me. And so whenever I read this, it really felt like the Lord, sorry, I'm trying not to get emotional about this. It really felt like the Lord was saying, there was a reason I didn't give you that in that time, and that I have something better in store for you if you will just have faith in me. And I think this book, though it may seem a simple a children's book, this really spoke to the child in me about how I had kind of lost faith, I think, a little in certain areas of my life where I had prayed for things and that it hadn't happened. And yeah, it was just a good reminder to me in my spirit that, we need to have faith. We need to believe that things are going to get better and everything's going to be okay, and that God has his hand on us. And even if he doesn't give us something that we want, he knows what's best for us. There may be a reason why he doesn't give that to me right now in this season. Maybe I have too much on my plate and I wouldn't be able to handle it. Maybe in the season that I do receive it, I'll be able to appreciate it in a different way. So, yeah, I just wanted to, there was more than one moment while I was reading this book that it kind of sucker punched me in my heart and really convicted me about my own thoughts and feelings. So I just wanted to share that in case that it might help someone else as well. Okay, moving on to chapter 12. The Sesamum House is Haunted. Okay, so eventually Heidi has been there for so long. I think it's been around a year now. And she has stopped really eating. She doesn't eat a lot. She doesn't smile a lot. Although she's in this fancy house with these fancy clothes, she just wants to be at home with her family. She would rather trade all of this just to be with her grandfather. And you really feel that ache and yearning in her heart as you're reading these pages. And so the ghost story comes about. The servants have noticed that in the middle of the night, they will come down and the front door is wide open. And, it's wind's blowing in the house and no one has left and they don't know how the door is being opened. So this keeps going on for days and it has got the whole house shook up and scared. And Rottenmeier is over there about to have a stroke. And I loved this because she's been so mean this whole time. And this may sound evil of me to say, but I felt like justice was being served whenever she was scared of the ghost. And it was just so funny. But she had been unkind to Heidi this whole time. And so Rottenmeier tries to get the master of the house to come home from his business trip. He is off on a business trip and she's like, there's a ghost and da-da-da-da-da. And he's like, I'm not leaving my business trip for a ghost. And he's like, no. So he tells her, if you have a problem, then you can write to Grandmama about it. And his mother, because she's closer to them than he is off on his business trip. So she writes to Grandmama, there's a ghost, blah, blah, blah. And Grandmama, who already doesn't like Rottenmeier, which I love, and she's like, I'm not coming over there. I'm not getting out. I'm elderly. I'm not coming over there because you think there's a ghost in the house. And if it's that serious, then you just need to get up with the night watchman, like the policeman, to come and help you. And I thought that was friggin' hilarious because you know what? You deserve that, Rottenmeier. So she ends up being manipulative. Rottenmeier ends up manipulating the situation where she makes sure Clara, the daughter in the wheelchair, knows about the ghost and is very scared. And that way she writes to her father and then he comes home for her because she's in mental anguish and distress over this. So Rottenmeier ends up manipulating that. And so the master does come home. One of the parts that was very sad to me was that the master came home. He invited his doctor friend to come and stay up the night because he was like, if somebody's breaking in my house, I'm going to end up shooting them and you may need to be needed here. So he has his doctor friend and they stay there. And all of a sudden they hear, the door lock switch and they realize, somebody's opening the door. And they jump up, and there in the moonlight, there's this little bitty creature there, and it is Heidi, and she has been sleepwalking. And the doctor realized what went on, and he tried to talk to her, but she was a little out of it. And he tells the master of the house, I'll take over from here. Let me go and check her out, make sure she's okay. And he gets her back in her bed in her room, and he starts noticing that she is very, very thin and bony and brittle, and she has actually been wasting away. And so that was really sad and upsetting for me to read, because she's in a house full of adults and no one cares enough to see that she is just, like grieving her family and wasting away to nothing. So that made me angry to read that. They were supposed to be taking care of her. The master had told them, treat her as good as you treat my daughter, and they did not. Like, she had food and she had clothes, but that was it. They did the bare minimum. So, moving on to chapter 3, up the Alm on a summer evening. The doctor ends up telling the master, you need to send this little girl home or she's going to waste away. Either send her home or she's not going to be able to go home. And so that next morning, he bangs on all the doors and gets everybody up. And he tells Rottenmeier, pack her stuff up. And he tells the servants, get ready. You're going to be taking a trip. He tells the butler. What's funny is, even when Heidi was trying to leave, Rottenmeier was still trying to throw her hat and her shawl away and didn't want her taking those things. And the master of the house was, when he saw her doing that, which she had been that way towards Heidi the whole time, he got onto her and said, leave that little girl alone and let her go home. He wrote a letter to the grandfather and gave it to Heidi to give. And I believe he gave her a bag of money. And once Heidi realized that she could finally leave this place and go home, she couldn't believe it. But I was so happy for her. So the butler takes her, and they have to go on a train, or they have to travel, like we said before, it was a couple days away travel. And so he gets off the train in the town, and they're still a town away. And he finds someone that's going to travel, a man that's traveling with a wagon to the next town. That next town is, the village at the bottom of the mountain before where her grandmother lives. And the butler, who does the bare minimum, has done the bare minimum of helping Heidi the whole time, friggin' leaves her with that man. His one job was to take her home, and he couldn't even do that. He left her with the man in the wagon. And thankfully, this man was actually the baker in the little village town down from the mountain. So he could take her where she needed to go. That just really made my eye twitch, because, one thing we could say about the servants of that household, they were very thorough and sucking the whole time. So she is able to ride with the baker to that village, and immediately when she sees that she knows where she is and she can get to home, even if it's, running up the mountain, she hops down and she says, my grandfather will be back for the, they had this little travel chest thing. And she's like, he'll be back to get my stuff. And she just started running, and she ran. And the whole time your heart is beating so fast, because she's finally going to be able to go home and be reunited with her family. And she's running, and she stops by Peter's house and says hello to the grandmother. And they cried and loved each other. And she had her some rolls to give her. She had worried the whole time that the grandmother would die before she would get back home. And it was just such a heartwarming moment to see that. And the whole time she had went through the village, she would hear things about her grandfather, he's gotten a lot meaner than the last time, so I think he really struggled in the time that she was gone. So she's running up the mountain and running back to her grandfather's, and she just hollers, grandfather, grandfather, grandfather. And he comes out and standing there, and they just hug each other. And it's just this magical moment where they just sat there and cried and held each other because they had missed each other so much. Oh my gosh, I almost broke down. with that part, because I just cannot imagine not being able to see your family for over a year and being so little, and then finally having that time where you're able to come back. And oh my gosh, my heart. The reunion and the homecoming was the best part of the book so far to me. I just love that. There is this part, the next chapter, chapter 14, Sunday when the church bells ring. And since Heidi is able to read now, she goes to the grandmother and she's able to read some of her hymn book to her. And this is the most beautiful thing. Today we languish in grief and anguish, but earthly sorrow shall fade tomorrow. After the storm, the sun shines bright. Sweet peace and pleasure and boundless measure we know is given in the gardens of heaven, and thither my hopes yearn day and night. That was such a sweet part of the story, to hear her reading to the blind woman, and how much that hymn lightened her heart and spirit, and I just loved it, and it lightened mine too. So I'm so glad that I was able to read that. I had never heard that before, but it was a beautiful part of the book. What was funny was the storybook that the grandmama had given Heidi. It must have been an illustrated Bible storybook, because I did not realize one of the stories that she loved was the prodigal son coming home. So I wanted to kind of read this part as well. And it is the part of the prodigal son coming home. She starts off by reading about a son that was well off at home where the cows and lambs grazed in his father's fields, but he had left. But suddenly he wanted to have his share of the property and be his own master, and he asked his father for it, and went away with it, and wasted it, and riotous living. And when he had nothing left, he had to go and be a farmer's hired hand. And he did not have such fine cattle as was in his father's fields, but only pigs, and he had to take care of them. And he had nothing but rags on him, and nothing to eat except a little of the husk that had been thrown to the pigs. And then he had thought how good it had been in his father's house, how good his father had been to him, how ungrateful he had treated his father, and he wept from remorse and homesickness. And he thought, I will go to my father, and I will ask him to forgive me, and tell him I'm not worthy to be called his son, but ask him to let him stay as one of the hired servants. And when he was coming a great way off from his father's house, his father saw him and came out and running, and he had compassion on him, and he fell on his neck, and he kissed him. And the son said, Father, I've sinned against heaven, and in thy sight I'm not worthy to be called thy son. But the father said, Bring forth the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his hand, shoes on his feet. Bring the fat calf, kill it, and let us eat and be merry. For my son was dead and is alive again. He was lost, but he is found. And she's reading this to her grandfather, and she says, Isn't that a beautiful story? You know, she's so excited. And the grandfather said, Yes, it is. And he's very serious. She tries to show him, Look at the pictures, you know, how beautiful it is. And eventually, a few hours later, she went to sleep. And the grandfather climbed up on the ladder, and he was just looking at her and checking on her. And the grandfather took a minute and said, Father, I've sinned against heaven, and I'm not worthy to be called thy son. And he starts crying. And that's when I realized that is kind of what this book is about. This book isn't just about Heidi. It's about, you know, how God can work on our hearts, comfort us during hard times, and how we can always be that son that goes back to him. And it just made me cry. I just was not expecting this. I was not expecting this from this. But it was a beautiful part of the story. And the next morning, it's Sunday. And grandfather says, Heidi, put on your best dress. We're going to church. They've never went to church before, but he wants to go today. He goes to church and listens to the service. And the townspeople go up and meet him, and they welcome him. They are kind to him. And he talks to the pastor, and he lets the pastor know that they'll be coming down for Heidi to start school. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful moment, because he previously did not want to go into town. He didn't want Heidi going to school with the townspeople. He didn't want anyone to hurt her like he had been hurt in the past. And so this was a big pivotal moment of the book. And it was just so beautiful and heart-touching. Yeah, that is the end of part 1. And so I'm really excited to see, okay, so all of this has happened. And honestly, that could have just been a book itself. But, I mean, part 1 takes up 3/4 of the book. But now we're going to move on to part 2. Heidi makes use of what she has learned. So I hope that you have hung in there with me so far. And I thank you for listening and hanging out with me today. And I hope that I can see you the next time when we talk about Heidi part 2. And I hope you have a blessed day. And just remember, if you're struggling, you're not alone. We're all going through something. And everything's going to be okay. Even if it isn't, it will still be okay. We're still going to make it through, and we're going to come out on the other side. And God has a plan for us. And it's going to be all right. And yeah, I hope you have a good rest of your day, and we'll see you next time. Bye.